Money. It's a tool, sure. It's a resource. But for so many of us, it's a huge source of stress. And we're not just talking about the numbers in your bank account. We're talking about this unseen weight that can mess with every single part of our lives, from our mood to our actual physical health. All right, let's dive into this and figure out what's really going on.
I mean, come on, who hasn't been there? That feeling, deep in the pit of your stomach when a totally unexpected expense just pops up out of nowhere, or that late-night doom scroll worrying about how to make ends meet? If you've ever felt that, you are definitely not alone.
In fact, get this. A staggering 42% of adults in the US say that money has a negative impact on their mental health. That's nearly half the population feeling that exact same pressure. So this isn't some personal failing. It's a massive, widespread challenge.
So here's what we're going to cover. We'll start with the connection between money and your mind. Then we'll see how it's so much more than just worry. We'll dig into why it all feels so personal, and most importantly, we'll talk about actual strategies to break the cycle and find a path to feeling better.
Okay, first up, the money-mind connection. It's so important to see this not as a one-way street where money problems cause stress. It's more like a feedback loop, a vicious cycle that can be really hard to escape.
So what even is financial stress? Well, at its core, it's just that anxiety and worry we all feel about our money. It could be triggered by something big, like losing a job, or it could be more of a slow burn from debt that just keeps piling up. It's a totally natural response to feeling unstable.
And here's how that cycle gets started. It usually kicks off with some kind of financial trigger. Maybe it's a surprise medical bill, or your rent goes up again, and that leads to this state of constant nagging worry. But that worry, it doesn't just stay in your head. It starts to take a real physical toll. You might feel way more anxious, you can't sleep, or maybe you're even getting headaches or other physical pains.
And that's the trap, because when you're stressed out and just not feeling your best, it becomes almost impossible to make clear, rational decisions about your money. This can lead you to make choices that, you guessed it, create even more financial stress. And just like that, you're locked into that vicious cycle.
So let's move on and see how this thing builds into something so much bigger than just a passing concern. We're really talking about a tangible, physical weight that affects us in so many different ways.
The effects are both emotional and physical, right? On the emotional side, you might feel anxiety, hopelessness, even shame. But that stress also shows up in our bodies and in what we do. Things like headaches, terrible sleep, pulling away from friends, or just straight up avoiding opening the mail. These are all real, concrete ways our bodies react to that pressure. And listen, over time, this isn't just about temporary discomfort. Chronic financial stress can lead to some really serious long-term health problems. We're talking about increased inflammation in the body, making existing mental health conditions worse, and, this is a big one, people delaying or even skipping necessary healthcare because of the cost, which, of course, just makes everything worse down the line.
So why? Why does this particular kind of stress cut so deep? Let's dig into the psychological roots that make money feel so incredibly personal.
Here's the thing, it's rarely just about the money itself. In our society, money is a symbol for so much more, isn't it? It symbolizes security, success, freedom. So when we're struggling financially, our brain doesn't just see it as a numbers problem, it can interpret it as a personal failure, like a sign that we aren't good enough.
This is where this idea of money scripts comes into play. These are basically the unconscious beliefs about money that we picked up our whole lives, from our families, from society. Like, for example, if you grew up always hearing money doesn't grow on trees, you might have a script that causes major anxiety about spending, even when you need to. These scripts are running in the background, driving our decisions and our anxieties without us even knowing it.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem, and it's heavy stuff. But now let's talk about solutions. How do we actually break this cycle and start moving forward? The good news is there are concrete, actionable steps we can all take. This 4-step framework is a really powerful place to start. First, you've got to identify your specific stressors. Is it the credit card debt? Is it one particular bill? Pinpointing the source is everything. Second, you got to challenge those negative money scripts we just talked about. Ask yourself, is this belief actually helping me? Third, create a simple, realistic budget. Seriously, this isn't about restriction, it's about getting back a sense of control. And finally, build healthy habits to manage the stress itself. It's so much easier to make clear financial decisions when you're not in panic mode. And all of that brings us here to our final section, your path to wellness.
because the goal here isn't just to solve a money problem. It's to build a foundation for long-term emotional and financial well-being.
I want to leave you with this quote from social worker Robert Hinojosa. Remember that 42%? You are not alone in this. And the work you do to build coping strategies and confidence, those are truly priceless assets. They'll serve you for the rest of your life. So, as we close this out, I want to leave you with a question to really think about. How can you start to separate your sense of self-worth from your net worth? Because you are not your bank account. And realizing that is the most valuable investment you can ever make.